having crawled through the mire of the multiverse. Here we are in the presence of the Marvelous Nerdcast. Hosts, as always, Ziggy and Emily.
Welcome back to another episode of the Marvelous Nerdcast. I'm here with my wife Emily, and we do have a special guest today, and that would be the friend of the pod, the Cypherian DK.
Oh yes, glad to be back.
So, welcome everybody, and we are still learning our new system here with doing the podcast through Discord, which we are slowly getting it to be what we want it to be. We see Mike is in the audience. Hey Mike, nice to see it's working at least.
He's hanging out and at work and listening to us.
Yeah. So while you're at work, Mike, and if you have a question you want to put in the chat, please do so while we're live.
That's what I love about this thing is you can do that.
You can hit the option of raising your hand, and we will get to it at some point. Other than that, we're going to talk about, what was it, episode 4 of Ahsoka.
Yep.
I'm pretty stoked about how that turned out. In regards,
so big reveals.
In regards to where you can find the video pod for this, is going to be under the Storytellers of the Apocalypse podcast tab on the YouTube channel that we have for the gaming team. And so the Marvelous Nerdcast pod will be on the Stoa page.
Okay, cool.
To basically cross-promote both things.
I like it.
Nice.
So that's what I'm super stoked about. We will be, evolving this platform to the point where we'll have transitions to go towards videos that we're watching and reviewing, and we can pull up episodes that we're actually talking about. So we'll keep evolving it. I'll keep tweaking it until it's perfect of what we want it to be. Other than that, let's just dive into it, guys, right?
Yeah, this was an insane. I've been stoked for the Ahsoka series for a long time, and especially because it got kind of fan casted, but luckily with the really talented performers, Rosario Dawson and stuff like that. I've loved the casting so far for Sabine and stuff like that, but this episode was where we finally got to see some real. There's a lot of questions that got answered. The biggest theory I wanted to just start off with was the whole Marok theory that got blown out of the water. Nobody was right. No,
yeah.
There were no theories to support what happened. But if you were if you're a player of Jedi Fallen Order, you kind of know what happened.
Yeah, for sure.
But that it was essentially a reanimated corpse. Of course, now everyone, I don't know if you guys saw that, now everyone's theorizing that it was Kanan's reanimated corpse. I'm like, I'm sorry. If you watch that episode of Rebels when Kanan falls, there was nothing left.
That's what I said. Emily brought that theory up, and I was like, there's no way. That dude got obliterated.
But nobody's dead in Star Wars unless you see the body.
But also
that's 100% true. It's true.
Also, if you think about it,
that's the one thing that they definitely share.
if you think about it though, when we did the whole, when Rey went through the whole battle of Palpatine at the end, wasn't Kanan one of the Force voices at the end?
So was Ahsoka.
Was he? Well,
yes.
Yeah, the original, he wasn't. That's right. Yeah, Kanan was in there, but then the original voice actors for Ahsoka. um, was in there. So we know. I mean, he was one with the Force. Doesn't necessarily mean his body didn't. I mean, if you want to throw a bone to it, yes, it's possible that the Empire recovered his burnt corpse just for whatever.
But it has to be like Barn. So okay, we know it wasn't Kanan. It has to be like a Night Brother, right? It has to be like
a Night Brother, or maybe it could have been one of the Inquisitors was a Night Brother, and then they just reanimated it. Just the whole use of the Inquisitor lightsaber. I wish they'd talk about a little bit, but like even if they just called him like whatever fourth brother or something like that, like just to fill in the gap. Yeah. In that information, because I think there still are gaps in the numbers of Inquisitors that we know of that have appeared over the last few years. But one of the best death scenes, honestly, because it was kind of like a whole like the move was so that was my biggest, like I was just sitting there like this the whole time. Every single time she switched forms, lightsaber forms.
I noticed that too.
Yeah. Yeah, like you see her like you just see her mastery of saber techniques, and Balin's too. His apprentice kind of had her own thing, but you really, it showed the level of mastery that both her and Balin had to be able to switch that kind of thing up, trying to test out one another, and you get to hear that obviously that Balin knew who Anakin was. Probably met him and stuff like that, but it's just like, I really do want to. I hope that it gets released here soon. The backstory on Balin and where he was and how he survived Order 66.
Yeah, and he also knew what happened to Anakin, where afterwards he knew what he became.
Well, at this point, it's 6 years later, and in reading the Princess Leia book and what happened after Return of the Jedi, it came out relatively quickly in that 6 years after Return of the Jedi that Vader was Anakin Skywalker. So at this point, it's public knowledge. Which is what I mean. That's my thought, is that he that he just, in finding that out, he's like, if you knew what he became, or if you lived to see what he became in the Jedi Order. But I think at this point that the galaxy was aware of who he was in the end, because it's actually why Leia could never be Supreme Chancellor of the New Republic, because she kind of got thrown out of the Senate after that whole thing, after that was revealed.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Which sucks, but
what's her name? Let me look. Shin.
Shin, yeah, the apprentice, yeah.
Her reaction when Marok was killed, she was like shocked. She was like, she had no idea that could happen. It looked like she was just like totally taken aback by that.
I don't think I think because she's at this point, she's probably younger than Luke Skywalker, so that means that I think she herself is a Night Sister who was trained in the Force. And maybe Marok was her brother who was reanimated or something, or someone close to her.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That would explain why the relationship between is it Morgan or
Morgan?
Between Morgan and Balin, that they might have some sort of past history or something like that. But I do love we've got to see a live Night Sister. I love the tie-ins with Jedi Survivor in the alien artifact and technology that was introduced in the game as being seen on a larger scale. But the Sabine's, that's the one thing that's irking me about the series so far, is Sabine's training, because it was never talked about in Rebels. She learned to use a lightsaber only because they had the dark saber, and there was the whole thing about the House of Ren, which we now I guess learn has been destroyed. Which I mean, obviously that must have happened after Bo-Katan had, because it's in Rebels, so that, Mandalore was already destroyed and everything was separated. So I'm not sure how House Ren fell after that, but I just if she's not really I'm hoping there's some sort of bigger reveal that she actually does know how to use the Force in some way, shape, or form. Because it can't. She's a warrior, but like, I don't. At this point, you think there'd be some sort of progression in her being able to use the Force and anticipate, like, even with the whole blast shield down that we saw in the last episode.
Whenever Kanan was trying to train her, there was like a specific scene that I remember, and I actually saw a video of it on TikTok the other day. Kanan was talking to Hera about training Sabine, and like in the background, Sabine and Ezra are like just knocking sticks around, and Hera's like, "Why aren't you letting her use a lightsaber? You did for Ezra." And he's like, "Well, she's different. It's almost like she has a block." And then he's like, she's so full of herself, or something along those lines. And then Hera's like, "You mean she's a Mandalorian?" Like, she's hard-headed. Like, she's...
And that might be the blocker, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do remember that, and I know he was training her to use the Darksaber, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe he thought that she could use the Force, because he says everybody can do it, you know.
Yeah, everyone can do it. And even the droid, I can't remember his name right now.
Hu
Yang says that she has some attunement, but like the lowest he's ever seen. Yeah. and I do applaud Filoni and Favreau for not bringing up midichlorians.
Yeah.
By this point,
didn't they bring them up, but like as a joke or something?
Not in this series. In Rebels, yes. In Rebels, it was referred to, and it was kind of a joke. They acknowledged the fact that everyone thought it was a joke. But I just applaud that they didn't talk about like what her midichlorian count is. Like, I mean, that would have been such a huge joke coming from the droid if that was the case. But they didn't go there. But you do see that she, like, the fact that they knocked off her helmet when she's battling the apprentice. Like, that she's kind of got to shed that Mandalorian side of her to do this, and I think, I mean, had we not progressed as far as we have already, like, I thought, you know, it could have been a moment for Mando to pop up at some point, and maybe he still will, because Ahsoka. I'm actually surprised Ahsoka has it. Like, they didn't try to incorporate, you know, show crossovers. We're already doing Rebels so much. I guess Mando's thrown in. I mean, we are tying Mando in with Morgan.
How many years after Mando is this? Because it's definitely after that. Is it just right after?
Mando was supposed to take place 6 years after Jedi, but then if this is taking place directly after Mando ended, then this would be 8 years after, because Grogu was, according to Filoni, Grogu was with Skywalker for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So this is it. So this could be happening. This could be happening, like during Mando's final season, because we don't. Well, no, because the X-wing fighter pilot who we saw talking with Zeb, and now it turns out belongs to Phoenix Squadron, was there. So this is probably between 6 and 8 years after Jedi.
So if we get Grogu in this season, he's going to be a little bit older. Maybe he'll look different.
Maybe. I mean, it's fun if we get that. I would love to see if Ahsoka gets more than one season, which I'm sure it will.
Oh, yeah.
If it doesn't, you know,
everybody's going to be mad.
I'm going to set the world on fire.
If I mean, and it could, and that could open up, like, this could be Filoni finishing Rebels the way he wanted to.
Right. That would...
And then next season we just see hints of the old Rebels crew, but really it's Ahsoka's kind of whole thing, and it could be Ahsoka, because you gotta think about, where was Ahsoka during Luke's rebuilding of the Order? Because she's not in the comics. She's not mentioned in the comics when that showed what happened when Kylo when Ben Solo turned, and the temple was destroyed and stuff like that. So. And of course, you know, and this is jumping to the end of the episode here, but like, the fact that she's thrown off the cliff and then ends up being thrown into the world between worlds. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, who didn't see Rebels and stuff like that, the world between worlds got introduced in the 4th season of Rebels. and actually even before that, in the webcomic and one of the comics, Ezra's Duel with Danger, it's mentioned, but it didn't actually seen until the 12th episode of season 4.
Which, by the way, I want to take the credit that if you guys listened to last week's episode, I totally fucking called that shit that it was gonna.
You did?
I did I not, honey? I brought it up. I was like, man, it'd be so cool if we saw that, and then boom.
And yeah, we see it. Not only we see that, but we see Hayden Christensen's return as young Anakin Skywalker. Like they actually did. They didn't.
It was the Rebels Skywalker, and it was.
Yeah. Well, it sort of was. Like he's in his revenge. He's in the last outfit he was in before he completely fell to the dark side.
Yeah.
But he's not in the robes he's in the special edition of Return of the Jedi. He's looking, but they did the de-aging thing, which they didn't do in Obi-Wan. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I think it would have been fine to just put him in the wig or have him grow his hair out. That was his natural hair in Revenge of the Sith.
But maybe it's on purpose because this is the world between worlds, and it's like almost like a spiritual like force aura of him. Maybe
it could be Anakin from any timeline,
right?
Well, that's this is where this is where essentially where Force Ghost can kind of do their thing. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think it's a great resolve. Like, I really hope that she kind of reverts, and you kind of see it in her eyes a little bit right toward the end, but she kind of reverts to that young Padawan who looked up to him so much.
And can we talk about the fucking transition?
Oh God, yeah! Like that was such a great camera move.
What?
That was good.
It was so clean. Like instead of doing the classic like Star Wars like little swipe across the screen,
the star wipes and over wipes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like it was just so unexpected that it was transitioning to a different.
And I noticed it first. I was like, "Oh, they're in the world between worlds."
Yeah,
and he was I totally called that.
Yeah, no, I was super excited to see all that, but also like to see, I mean, that whole battle between Ahsoka and Baylan, like, because you Zach, you mentioned it to me during my stream on Wednesday about how they don't have red lightsabers. Him and his apprentice they have orange.
Yeah.
Sabers. Marak had a red one, but again, he had one of the Inquisitor sabers, so that could have just been what he had. But I do.
But are they orange? I questioned that whenever he was fighting Ahsoka.
When I mean, you have to do a side by side comparison. Yeah. But even in like the trailers, they're not the red we know.
Yeah. Well, that's why in the last episode, our last episode, I talked about that. Zach, I talked about how, they don't seem to be quite completely committed to the dark side.
Right.
It feels like they're not. There could be some like questioning going on, especially for Baylan.
Well, again, he feels that he's just trying to bring order or balance back, and this might be the only way to do it. But I think, again, we haven't gotten Baylan's backstory, but like since they came out after episode 9, talking about how lightsaber colors are determinate by the person who's wielding it. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense that he's not full red because he's doing what he's a mercenary. He's doing what he needed to survive. He doesn't consider himself a Jedi anymore. His apprentice definitely is, and his apprentice is post the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's and his ability to identify with Sabine and know what she's going through and offer her a way out, as opposed to because a full Sith would have just taken her head off.
Yeah.
Like, there would have been no, because it's the whole absolutes, like, you're either with us or against us. And he saw in her something, like, the fact that he offered her a way out, even stopped his apprentice from killing her. Like,
well, I was going to bring that up, actually. I don't quite understand why she did that, but I think it makes sense because she thinks that Ahsoka's dead, right? Ahsoka's not dead, right?
Yeah, she in her mind at this point, and she's thinking like she did in the Rebels series, I think, because it was do what you needed to do to get they did some questionable things in order to get what they needed to in that series.
Yeah.
Her included. And I think she saw that she believed that Ahsoka was dead, and that this might be the only way. Balin did exactly what a good villain does. He tapped into what she wanted, and he didn't want to see her talent wasted either.
Right.
Because he sees a lot of himself in her and having everything taken from her. So, even if I don't believe she is evil, but I do believe that she saw it as a means to an end to at least get as close to Ezra as she could. But had she known Hera was coming, you see the shock in her face when Hera and her squadron show up. She's like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. But Ahsoka's not dead, right? She just entered into this trance-like state and went into the world between worlds.
She could be in the water. Yeah, she could be in the water, but her, I think it's going to be a big question of whether or not she's because technically she died.
Yeah.
Technically, in her battle with Vader, but we never saw her come out, which means that Ezra did pull her out of there to begin with, just from another timeline. So, and then in Rebels we saw her connection with the Force and the owl that's been representing the light side since the episode of the Clone Wars, where they ended up in that another world between worlds with the balance and the light and the dark. Which I feel like they don't reference that enough. like Ahsoka's seen some shit.
Yeah.
It's just what I think is really cool is that we get to see how the shit she's been through. We can see it in her movement and her way of thinking, and we could see how well they're portraying the character, and I think it's just it's magical in this reimagining.
Yeah, and I think, even in the opening episode, we see how much like Anakin she is.
Yeah.
Rebels, Clone Wars Anakin.
Do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt your thought.
Oh, no, you're good.
Do you think that she? So what's happening right now? So she's probably technically dead again, but she's been pulled into the world between worlds. And last time Ezra pulled her in there. Do you think Anakin potentially did it this time?
Well, he said he didn't expect to see her so soon, so possibly. Because, the last time we saw the world between worlds, it was being destroyed because of Sidious's unorthodox way of getting into it. And so it was supposed to be the way it was supposed to be shut. But I've already seen a few videos where people were just like, well, Ezra couldn't have been the only one to be able to open it.
Right.
And also the location that they're at could be, there are places in the galaxy that are strong with both light and the dark side. And that could be a very strong and powerful point for the light side, which is maybe why she got saved. Because that happened to be a doorway that she inadvertently opened, or Anakin opened. Like I said, she might be in a trance. She might be just mentally there or something like that. We'll find out in the next episode. I think this is the way they can. I'm very curious as to what they're going to do now. I'm sure it has. I honestly, my predictions is that they're going to use the space whales again, similar to how Anakin did it.
I said it
because
I said it in the first episode of us reviewing Ahsoka that I'm going to be mad as hell is when we get the reveal of Ezra coming back and that motherfucker's not riding those space whales like a goddamn fucking Bronco.
Space whale.
Fucking, he better be coming in with a whole horde of them.
He's all long hair, got a rope on one of them, just
he's got his lightsaber out, dude. Fucking.
And you just see him go, "The fuck you been?"
He just shows up, and then he just goes, "I brought some friends," and then that's it.
My thoughts are that Ahsoka, because Sabina's with the bad guys, Ahsoka's gonna use the World Between Worlds to get where Ezra is and just meet everybody there.
That could be. Yeah, it's very true. She could travel through time in order to get there.
We need to discuss the elephant in the room, the Vader theme at the end.
Oh,
Why the Vader theme? Don't make him bad. Don't do that.
No, because look at what they did with. They took Palpatine's theme and made it Rey's theme.
That's true, but she's a Palpatine.
True, but again, it was like they made it a more melody type. Like I don't think the ending credit was necessarily dark. I think it was just
a hint because we all know he's Vader.
Yeah, it's just and representing the last time they met, when he was Vader.
Right.
And for some reason, every time anyone from his past meets him, they always manage to crack his helmet. That thing's a piece of shit.
I know, right?
I mean, they just need to realize the technology isn't there. It's not. It's not sturdy material.
They've said in the canon and in multiple books that Palpatine intentionally gave Anakin like the most cumbersome like breathing apparatus. Like they were much more useful and probably deadly things, but he wanted that was his way of keeping Vader on a leash. Was not allowing him to have better technology for his breathing apparatus, because we've seen throughout the Star Wars galaxy, we've seen people with better stuff.
They could
the lowest being Forrest Whitaker's character in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And then we've seen a couple of different versions of it, and but then like obviously Starkiller's version of it in
oh my gosh,
Force Unleashed is the most frightening thing ever.
Emily doesn't even know about Starkiller.
You should just have her watch the cinematics.
Oh my gosh,
Force
honey.
Unleashed. It was such a great show.
You want to talk about the strongest Force wielder that you had ever seen? This motherfucker takes a Star Destroyer and rips it out of the sky.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Force Unleashed. It's aptly named for this game and this character, because the first game is actually a non-canon version of how the Rebel Alliance was formed, and the symbol they used actually was the symbol. So the opening of the game, you're Darth Vader attacking Kashyyyk and taking on Wookiees, and you end up to find a Jedi, and you find the Jedi, and the Jedi has a son, and he kills the Jedi. And then when Vader realizes how, because he's sensing a very powerful Force wielder, and it's not the dad, it's the kid. So he kills the dad, and then when his stormtroopers show up, he kills the stormtroopers and takes the kid and runs. And then we cut to later where he's been training him for all these years, but he is probably the most powerful, because what ends up happening is Bail Organa and all the senators who are trying to form the alliance do get captured, and this is where it got murky, is because they get taken to the under construction Death Star. And so they all, and then how it all ends is that he sacrifices. Well, there's two ways to end it. There's one, you can kill Vader and become the Emperor's new apprentice, or you just you defeat the Emperor, allow people to escape, but then in their escape he has like a big like Force lightning battle with the Emperor and ends up killing himself, letting them go. But then again, now at this point, Palpatine knew who the rebel leaders were, and it definitely, I can see why they couldn't make it canon. But the symbol they use for the Rebel Alliance is the symbol of the house of Starkiller's family. Like Leia wipes off a table and there's the symbol. So it's like this great way of saying, it's like that's how everything got formed. Everything else that they did, they took a lot of how the senators all came together and how the Rebel Alliance was formed. They did use it in Rebels to a point, except for the fact that the Emperor and the Senate never knew Bail Organa was involved until Leia got captured. They all had suspicions, but it is what it is. But yeah, and then in the game, and even in the second one where they're cloning Starkiller, like he does a force bubble that disintegrates anything that's near him.
Like it's insane.
It's crazy. Like you take down Star Destroyers, you take down Rancors. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's so good.
And then Sam, is it Whitnier? Is it or the guy who voiced Maul throughout the Clone Wars and everything like that?
Oh, Whittier.
Yeah,
I think it's Whittier.
they used his likeness and his motion capture and everything, and it's his voice doing it. But like he hadn't been Maul at that point. I think they used him specifically for it because he hadn't gotten super famous yet. Because it was after Force Unleashed that he did the Being Human series for Sci-Fi, and then became the voice of Maul, and it's now become this whole Star Wars canon and everything like that. Anyway, sorry, massive tangent. That's the whole short of it. But yeah, I think Ahsoka is on that level. But I think a hero's got to face a villain they can't, like, we saw it in Obi-Wan. We've seen it in Mando and stuff like that. They've got to be able to come up against foes that are much more powerful than them or more focused for whatever. And Baylan threw her off. I mean, it's kind of like Captain America with Bucky. He mentions Anakin, and she just, like, her mind goes off, like she's not focused anymore. Yeah. And I think that's why we see Anakin. We'll probably get to have some sort of resolve to their relationship that, because you saw how upset she was at the end of Clone Wars when she could feel everything go wrong, but then it got interrupted by Order 66.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, just going to be a real big closure to their relationship, and she'll come out of this even stronger and more focused as a Jedi than, and maybe, and this is a major prediction, but it would be so freaking awesome if she's sitting there with her sabers out talking to either Baylan or whoever she has to face in the end, and her sabers actually turn a color, like goes green or goes blue or something like that, because she had a green and a yellow.
Yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it in the Star Wars tales in the anime, where it was way in the future, and like there was the young Jedi whose like lightsaber was always like one color, but then you see Force users show up to claim lightsabers and they all go red, and then finally when the young one kicks their ass, it goes, I can't remember if it went blue or green or whatever. But to have that happen,
so sick,
would be cinematically be an amazing
white
shot.
Ones. But
her white ones are great, but she's as close to, and they've come out and said, like, thanks to Freddie Prinze Jr. and Filoni, like the Grey Jedi thought is it's not canon anymore. But she's as close to it as possible. She's as close to, like, she's not a lightning user or anything like that, but she's not, she does carry a lot of weight and emotions on her, which she was originally trained not to. But and you see how seriously she is, and she's trying to be more like Anakin with Sabine, but she's very hard on her, and that's, it is what it is. But I think that she hasn't fully committed to the life that she left behind with the Jedi Order, and I think that this will bring her back into the fold. But it is it comes down to a question, and it's going to be a question throughout the entire series: is what happened to her between this and Episode 7?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Sorry, I'll rant until someone shuts me out.
Do you think that we're gonna get more of Hayden Christensen as Anakin in the remainder of Ahsoka than we will get of Ezra?
No, I if Ezra's alive, which I hope he is, because they did a big thing about casting him.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna have a big part.
Yeah, I think Hayden Christensen will show up about as often as, like, more than Qui-Gon Jinn, like the end of Obi-Wan. I think he will be someone who could pop in once a season when, like, things are looking down, similar to how Rey and how Rey met up with Master Skywalker, and how Luke met up with Yoda in Last Jedi. Yeah. Like, I think that they'll just for this season,
just for this season, though. Like, I feel like we're not going to get Ezra until the last episode.
Agreed.
Sure.
I also was telling Zach after we watched that, I'm going to be super mad if the next episode 5, is them following Sabine. And not even, like, because, they have a bad habit of doing that. They'll throw something at you that everybody's been wanting, and then they'll focus on another character for an entire next episode.
Would be hilarious if they suddenly jumped over to Boba Fett No, nothing to do with the
has,
series.
has nothing to do with
Let's
it.
go see how Boba Fett's doing. Let's go see how Boba Fett's doing. It's fine. It's good.
Or
Or
it's
they
just
bring in
like,
Mando.
or it's just Luke training Grogu.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the series. Just complete tangent. Complete tangent. Hey, let's go. Let's do a Zeb episode because he hasn't popped up yet. So let's I honestly expected him to be. I expected when she decided to go rogue and grab the ghost that Zeb was going to be right alongside her.
Did too.
Dude, I lost my mind when
I
she
am
grabbed
surprised.
Ghost. I lost my mind.
Yeah, and to see, I do love. I love the casting choice for their son.
Yeah,
And his
Jason.
age is appropriate because she would have taken off, and then it would have been 3, almost 4 years. That so she probably had him shortly after Rebels, and then had to, and while at the same time was being a general for the rebellion, which is why she may not have taken much because she may have not taken part in many battles until Endor and stuff like that, but no, I think because he's right, he's age appropriate. I love that he's wearing a version of Caden's palindrome. Yeah, because it can't be his because he was wearing it when he died. So it is. It's a version of it. But he obviously is force sensitive. Because he says he has a bad feeling about something, which was great. I thought it was a great little piece. No, I love that the head goes again. This really is because Ahsoka became a big part of Rebels, and I thought it was kind of I hated when we lost her in season 4 and then brought her back at the end.
Yeah.
But it is it's I think you can't tell her story without talking about Rebels because of how included she was in it. But I think I think they're using it as a great vessel to end Rebels and really start Ahsoka's because my prediction is they're not going to defeat Thrawn in this season.
Oh no!
Well,
I
think, obviously not.
No.
No, I think I think the shot we keep seeing of Thrawn and the photos and everything like that. I think that's the last. I think that's the last shot of the final episode. Is he's been found, he's come to power, and now the whole next season will be them taking him down, and then we might start to see more into the creation of the First Order. Because I'm starting to think that Thrawn did it.
I have a feeling we won't get any resolve, even if multiple seasons happen, because I feel like what they're gonna try to do is give us all this information and then make a movie for the resolve.
Well, that's the thing. That the Mandoverse movie that Filoni is working on, I think, is going to resolve Ahsoka, Mando, and any other thing that comes out of this particular era of the Star Wars universe. I think you're right. I think I don't think we're gonna get resolved. I think everything's gonna build toward the movie,
right? That
Filoni is working on, and whether or not that movie goes to theaters or just is something that's on Disney Plus, I don't care either way. I would love a theatrical release to show Mando and Ahsoka and Bo-Katan and all these people just kicking ass. Having Ahsoka show up with the Mando fleet, and the New Republic, just get the fuck out of the way.
I mean, regardless of what happens, my pants will be off and I will be full of rats.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, it's a crazy universe they've set up. But this episode, everything was kind of slowly building to this. I honestly do think everything that happened in episodes 3 and 4 could have been one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been one 45-minute episode because there was a little bit of lag time in there a little bit, and but we're at the mid-season, so now we're gonna keep going. They've definitely got people's interest. If anyone who hasn't seen it before or hasn't watched it yet, they have a reason to be drawn back into it.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing another thing that's been bugging me is the lightsaber combat though a little bit. I feel like we've gone back to the slower. Yeah. The original trilogy.
It's like a hybrid of original trilogy and the fucking Anakin Obi-Wan type.
Yeah, I mean, and Rosario Dawson said it in an interview. Her stunt coordinator, they're watching episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels to see what Ahsoka used to be able to do, and and she's just like, there's so much stuff I want to do, but the stunt programmers are like, that's not possible. Like,
well, you better make it
I thought
possible.
well, that's the thing. Like, I think and it doesn't even have to be acrobatic. We've seen her be a little bit acrobatic, and I know from a stunt performer's point of view, like keeping the headdress on has got to be a big pain in the ass.
I mean, they have the technology to do transitions to where, I mean, they do it with Thor all the time. They make him look fucking acrobatic, and all he does is jump off a metal platform and then do the transition.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They don't really need, like, I mean, you look at the saber techniques used in episodes 1, 2, and 3. It was fluid. It was hardcore. It was fast paced. And maybe that's just because you see Ahsoka swapping forms, and Balin really, like, Balin did it too, but like to the point where like he's Vader in this. He's a one-handed. He's massively powerful, and doesn't need a lot of flair, while she does, and always has been there. But I don't feel like the editing is matching the pace that we've come to love from the cartoon series. And
there was a lot of posturing.
Yeah, there was a lot of Dragon Ball Z moments where it's just like, just fucking fight already. But I love that they got, again, it's a very minor thing, and I'm sure that there's a reason for it. But I kind of feel like I'm like this. It just feels like we're going too slow. These should be intense battles, but maybe it really is. Like you said, it's posturing. It's he was kind of trying to delay her. And maybe that's why it wasn't quite as intense, but because he didn't even take off his cloak, he's just like, "Come on."
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So yeah, I feel like that's basically the whole episode.
Yeah.
All the good parts.
What do you guys? How are you guys feeling about it so far? Do you hate anything about the show?
I think I've talked about what's been bugging me, so I think I've made my points.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that I don't like. I think, I mean, even her headdress, they've improved it for sure. Everything, yeah. It looks better.
It did.
I don't have anything.
It did some funky movement because you see it get caught on her wardrobe at one point,
which is funny. I think that's kind of funny that like it, because it's part of her, so there should be occasional wardrobe malfunctions. But
all in all, man, I mean, this show is becoming easily like my favorite Star Wars thing ever. But yeah, I'm stoked. I'm telling you, Ezra better be coming in riding those fucking space whales.
Space whales.
I'm telling you, man. If I don't get that, awesome. If I don't get that, I will personally go rob a bank, take that money, buy a plane ticket, go straight to California, go to Dave Filoni's house, and punch him in the face.
Oh.
I mean, you don't have to go to his house. He speaks at so many public events. The one. This is a thought. This just occurred to me. You remember the species that in the Legends invaded the galaxy, the Yuuzhan Vaughn. I can't remember. I can never pronounce it properly. But that's what the other, like in the Legends, when in the original extended universe before Disney took it over, there was a whole race that invaded the galaxy that came from a distant galaxy, and which made Force users unable to read them because they didn't have midichlorians and it couldn't predict them or sense them. But we're about to go to a distant galaxy. That's where people are. Man,
I have a theory, and I don't want to bring it up because you have not played the game just yet. So
Jedi Survivor?
Yeah. Because
Survivor, but yeah, Survivor, yeah.
A certain thing happens in that game. I brought it up last episode, but I don't think you
anytime I know you're going to talk about it, I usually turn it on. I do need to sit down and do it. That's one thing I'll probably do this week is I'll probably bring my PlayStation over so I can finally play.
But there's a thing.
I'm so wrapped up.
There's a thing that took place in that game where I think it could.
You can tell me, like at this point, I'm well beyond.
No, because it's a big turning point in the game.
It's a big turning point. Okay.
But yeah, it takes place in the game, but I feel like they're leaning towards possibly going towards that kind of storyline.
Not having played the game, but since you have, is there any possibility of Cal Kestis or anyone associated with his universe showing up?
Oh,
you think?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay.
If it doesn't happen, I won't be too disappointed, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, because again, there's always the questions of where was Cal Kestis and his band, merry band of people during, when because his whole story takes place. Isn't the newest one supposed to be like 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's just like it's all again giant galaxy, people doing their own thing. I'm still waiting for Kyle Katarn to show up, and I know that what's his name who played Cal Kestis is like kind of believes himself to be a very Kyle Katarn-esque character, which he is. He uses a blaster and has a blaster and has a lightsaber. Like, if they're doing that, that's fine. Just bring me the Moldy Crow. Bring me his ship. And if Kyle Katarn becomes the name he uses in canon later, just to disguise himself from being Cal Kestis, that would have been a perfect transition. But I know they didn't. Sure. I know they didn't do that. But they should have. I think that would have been like the fan base would have gone nuts.
I mean, I go nuts every 2 minutes in this show.
I know, right? It's hard not to. They've given us a lot of great content, and I can't hate them at all for anything that goes on. Pretty much the only thing I can nitpick about as a filmmaker, I can nitpick.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The editing and the stunt work, but but in terms of story, it's just like I can't hate it because they've got so much. Who's the guy who's like the guy who's like the canon guy who like he's always in like behind the scenes things, being able to like he knows it all, like he knows how everything connects. I'm trying to remember his name. He's been. I know I'll think of it later. Anyway, like
Filoni's right-hand man.
Yeah, it's like Lucas. He's the guy between Lucasfilm and Disney. Like he knows he's the guy who they have to get approval. He's like the George Lucas in terms of the fact that he knows everything that's canon and what's not, and like why this species will be there and this one wouldn't be. Like there is a guy who does that. He has a team.
I didn't know
I'm sure,
this person existed. And
yeah, he showed up. He showed up in. He's been in interviews for Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. He was in those. And then he's been in a lot of panels with Filoni and Favreau because he's like the guy who just knows.
He knows all of Star
Wars. Why
this
happened. Yes. Like it's his job to connect the dots.
Oh my God. What a great job.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, and he's someone who was like an intern for Lucas, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
He had to have been to know all this because Lucas had nothing to do with the books in the extended universe. That all got, it was all it's all from his company, but he didn't
Can you imagine having your job to be reading all of the books and watching all of the shows and playing all of the games and deciding what's what? That would be so cool.
I imagine he's got like just like books upon books of like the Cliff Notes.
Mm-hmm. We just had a hand raise.
Jinx. Who was it? Was it or Charlie? Who was it?
You guys can opt in to speak if you want, or you can add something in the chat. He was just saying hey. Jinx was just saying hey.
Hey Jinx. Can I see the? I don't think I can see the chat. Oh, okay.
You can click it on the top. I see it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
what's up, Jinx?
That's gonna be the episode, guys. Just to recap, this is a new style that we're gonna try to do with the podcast, and we're gonna keep sending invites out and basically building the community. And basically, it's gonna be more of like a radio, like a live radio format, to where people can call in. Essentially, but instead of calling in, it's raising your hand in.
Yes.
And then we'll grant access for you to speak if you have like a question or you want to bring up a good topic.
Or you could just type it in the chat.
Or you can just type it in the chat. It's whatever. I think this is gonna do really well for us. I mean, we went from one person in the audience to like we have like 12 people now that are a part of the Discord. And that's just after mentioning it once.
And I gotta
Gotta
post
put-
it on the pages.
Yeah.
Gotta post it, gotta promote it, gotta pay to promote it.
So, okay, I think
Oh,
I think Charlie
wants
has
to talk.
something to say.
Henry Gilroy, thank you, Charlie. Yeah, no, Charlie knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, Charlie, you're here now. Yes.
Hold on.
We invite the hub folks.
I think I can invite him.
You allow him to speak or whatever. But yeah, I believe Henry Gilroy is the. Can I do it? Can I? I can't do it.
The notification that he requested to speak went away on my end.
It popped up again. He's got his hand raised. I don't know how you do it though.
I hit invite to speak. Anyways.
Okay.
Uh,
Just drag him and make him speak now.
Yeah.
Make him talk. But yeah, no. But Henry Gilroy is the name. I was listening to Kitchen and rushed over. But yes, that is the name of. That is the. That is the true Jedi archivist.
the guy.
The Star
Nice.
Wars universe.
Henry
Yes.
Gilroy.
It's Gilroy because I always get him confused with the guy who created Breaking Bad, who I believe is also a Gilroy. If not, then
Well,
I'm
thank
just-
you, Charlie.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. But thanks for having me, guys. I very much appreciate it.
Of
Very much
course.
like to talk
Thank you
again.
for coming.
We'll probably have you on either next episode or in the next couple of weeks, based on our schedules. Because Ahsoka is everybody's favorite in this
Yep.
group. I'm pretty sure of it.
Because it combines a live action with one of my favorite animated series. So
Mm-hmm.
technically two of my favorite anime series. Technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna send out the Discord invite link. We're gonna blast it out. Emily's gonna make a post on the Instagram that we have, and I will be pushing it out to whatever gaming groups that we're part of. Because again, this is going to go on the Storytellers of the Apocalypse YouTube page under the podcast tab, because they have introduced the podcast tabs. And so we're going to cross promote both our podcast and the gaming team at the same time. That's
That's right.
That's the
Nice.
idea.
Are you streaming tonight?
We shall see, because
I'll be on streaming my Sea of Thieves and probably talking more Ahsoka, most likely.
we shall see
Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
because the folks are gonna come visit, and we'll just
Your dad will be like, "Get on and play your game." He knows he loves me. So.
But
right,
until
well-
next time, guys, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you for partaking, and I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to see this blow up the way we're doing it now.
Yeah, boy.
So until next time, guys, we will see you later.
Bye.
You have been graced by the presence of the Marvelous Nerdcast. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe.